Welcome to the SmartChill Show, your show that gives you an insight into an entrepreneur's life. We share to aspire knowledge in our community in a laid-back atmosphere.
SmartChill is a non-profit organization that supports education, professional development, entrepreneurship, and community outreach. Please click on the link below to visit our page and donate to our cause. Your money will make a difference. Don't forget to share, subscribe, grab a drink, and get a seat at our table. The show is starting in 3, 2, 1.
Let's
Let's
go.
go.
Today we have the honor of having Tanika Donnell. She's a really successful agent in Dallas-Fort Worth area. We're so honored to have this inspiring woman with us today. Hello Tanika, how you doing?
I am fantastic. Thank you both for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Sure. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you
you.
so much. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how long have you been in the real estate industry?
I've actually been in real estate since 2014. I decided to transition out of corporate America because honestly I got tired of someone having the ability to come in at any time to say, hey, you've been laid off, or
Yes.
don't you get tired of that?
Uh-huh.
So I decided to transition into real estate, and I've been doing that since 2014, but since then have actually branched out to have my own real estate brokerage. So that's what I do have now. It's known as Tanika Donnell Realty, or TD Realty, or TDR. Currently we have over 75 agents here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Besides that, we also have a nonprofit that we just got final clearance to have called TDR Cares, and we want to serve the community.
Yes.
Lots of things that we want to incorporate are for first-time homeowners, giving grant programs, as well as I'm from a single-parent family. So I want to help single parents get into homes and maybe provide scholarships for their children as well. So that's another thing we're doing. And I have a segment called Around Town with Tanika. I love Dallas-Fort Worth.
Yes.
And so my goal is to provide different events and opportunities, like what restaurants to go to, what events here locally. And I've also branched off into helping homeowners know new build communities lately. So those are the three things that I love to do and dabble. And I, of course, love working with sellers and buyers.
Yes.
We'll never forget that. I always love working with them.
Okay, so what made you want to sell homes?
You know, I have transitioned with my corporate jobs to different cities, and I had a different experience with every agent that I encountered. And I found that there was a deficit. I may not have been familiar with the city, the process. I needed help. I was new, and I didn't find that all the time. So I love just looking at houses, but I love the aspect of helping a client go from A to B and finding the dream house. And so I wanted to be the agent I never was. So that's what really inspired me to get into real estate.
Inspiring.
Yes,
That's
yes,
perfect.
Yeah, so that's what happened.
Yes, and the home buying process can be sometimes difficult. And what do we need to know as a first-time home buyer?
Sure.
What is a good resource to tell us, purchasing a house is a good deal and that? Do we need to rely on the banker, the real estate agent, or just making our own research?
Well, of course, I think that the best option for you is to research and find a realtor that you feel has your best interest at heart.
Yes.
A lot of times you can go out and you can find a home on your own, but you don't know the ins and outs of a neighborhood, the comparables, the process. So my recommendation is that you first start off by finding a real estate agent that you trust. It could be a referral, it could be someone that you've researched online, but that would be my first obvious suggestion for you. Secondary, they're going to probably help you find a lender partner that can help navigate your finances, your debt, your income, and help you to understand your buying power. Because without that knowledge, you're kind of window shopping, okay? When we have that component, we can get laser focused on finding a home that really works for you and your family, and a location that will sustain your, am I close to my job? Do I need the right school systems? So all that comes together, but I would say the very first thing you should do is find a real estate agent like me.
Absolutely. And in your opinion, how has the pandemic affected the buying power and the desire for people to get homes?
It's very interesting. I was a little bit I was very prayerful at first when we had this whole COVID.
Yes.
But honestly, it's been amazing because the market it's very steady. It has not dipped. It has not decreased. We have a perfect storm of things going on. We have fantastic interest rates. We have low inventory, which is not good for buyers, but really good for sellers. So sellers right now, because we're at home more, are finding needs like they may need space for virtual learning. So they may need to upsize or downsize for that. People are selling their home. They have not a lot of equity now, and now can go out and buy new. And now a first-time homeowner who has been renting all this time because of the amazing low interest rates can now afford a little bit more house. And so that $1,300 to $1,500 to $1,800 they're spending can now be turned in creating equity for themselves now. So I would say, unfortunately, we're going through this, but thank God we are, because it's giving us an opportunity to think outside the box a little bit.
So you guys heard it, right? So right now, 2020 is the best time you to just buy a house. So Tanika, right now, let's say I have $10,000 saved in my saving account, and I have a credit score of 650. Am I in a good position to purchase my dream house?
Actually, you're in a really good position to perhaps buy right now. With a 650 credit score and $10,000 saved, you are an ideal candidate to reach out to a realtor or a lender and be pre-approved. What that pre-approval is a golden ticket. It'll tell us how much you are actually approved for, how much you're going to need for closing cost and down payment cost, and that $10,000 may be enough, it may not be enough, but until you actually ask the questions, you won't know for sure. But I would say, honestly, you're in a great position, because a lot of my first-time homeowners, they have just about that much, but they're also eligible for grant programs to help them with any deficit. And sometimes we're able to ask the seller for credits as well. And if you go to a new build community, a lot of times the lender partners will provide a large portion towards your closing cost. So if I were at a 650 and had $10,000 saved, I would call me.
Yeah. And so definitely, because it feels like, credit and savings would be the first, like where you will start.
Absolutely.
To start talking to lenders, and that's going to give you an idea of what kind of money you can afford.
Exactly.
Like, am I in a position to get my dream house, or do I have to adjust my expectations?
Or what's the roadmap to get me there?
Yes.
Because a lot of times, just with a few tweaks to paying down something, you can be eligible for a lot more than you thought.
Absolutely.
And so I think it's an incredible time for somebody that's in that predicament. And even if you're not quite there, call and we can get you on the road to get there. Right now, traditional FHA loans, you can get a 580 or above credit score is all you need for FHA. Lenders would prefer you have a 600 or above, and for conventional financing, you'd have just a 620 or above. So with a 650, you have options. Yeah, you're in good shape.
So it appears to me that credit, savings, real estate agent, lender would be where to start. That would be the perfect combo.
The perfect combination.
So I think we were able to break it down and make it so simple, but it can still appear complicated for first-time home buyers.
It can feel overwhelming
It
sometimes.
can, absolutely. So are there other costs to be mindful of?
Yes.
Or, what do I need to know as a first-time home buyer that doesn't know where to start?
That's an excellent question. The thing about it, you have your savings, you've got your credit together. Here's some components that make up purchasing. First of all, you have to have a down payment. And that is the portion out of your bank account that you're putting down on the house. You're going to get a loan for the remainder of it, okay? So you need a down payment. Closing costs are also costs associated with purchasing. They would be origination fees from the lender, title fees, reserves, reserves such as your homeowner's insurance for 3 to 6 months, and your property insurance, because those are also components of purchasing a home.
So the $10,000, are they included in those costs, or are they outside cost of the down payment?
Well, when you're purchasing a home, you do have your closing cost, your down payment, and costs like inspections, because you do have to, the suggestion would be to get an inspection on your home to make sure there are no unresolved issues. Yeah, we don't like surprises.
We don't like surprises.
Right. You also will have to pay for the appraisal. Okay, an appraisal assesses value to the home. You also will have to have things like moving expenses. A lender may ask you to pay off some credit card debt. So those could be components of that $10,000, okay? But there also could be an opportunity to get assistance from a seller or from a grant program to help offset those costs.
So it appears to me that it could be less than $10,000. I think it depends on the value of your house and where you are financially. It could be more, but it's always good to have some money saved in the account, so it
critical.
at least allow you to start somewhere.
That's because a lender is going to say, I'm putting in this portion, what are you putting in?
Absolutely.
So you have to have money set aside, okay? Because you have to have that in order to get the ball rolling, because there's earnest money. When you first get a contract, there's money that you have to put down the first 3 days.
Yes.
One would be the earnest money, which says, I'm earnestly doing everything to purchase this home. That's usually about 1% of the price of the house. And then you have an option fee. An option fee says, hey, I want maybe 5 to 7 days to figure out if I really want this house, okay? There's a fee for that. You pay for that. Usually it could be from $100 to $200 to pay the seller to say, I want to have the ability to opt out if I don't want to go forward, okay? So then you're going to have that, and then you need inspections. Inspections are critical so that you can understand what's going on with the house. We may not be able to see it. Those three things will be due at the first 3 days of the contract.
wow.
So it's important
So
that
you
you
need to
know
be
that.
prepared.
Be
Yeah.
prepared. Be prepared initially, and then the remainder will be due at closing, which typically the process could take about 30 days. 30 to 35 days is the norm that sellers are willing to, of course, accept. If you're building a new property, it could be longer.
And talking about cost. So now I just purchased the house. I got approved.
Congratulations.
Yes. So now, what are additional costs to be mindful of?
Well, you have deposits when you are moving into a home for your electrical, your gas, your internet. So those are costs, moving costs to move in, actually. So most of the costs, though, will be associated with your closing costs and your down payment, the appraisal, the inspections. Those will be before. But
okay.
for moving in, I would say, remember the alarm system needs to be changed.
Security.
A locksmith maybe need to be called. I always suggest a home warranty, whether you buy it or the seller buys it, a home warranty in case anything goes wrong when you move in. You have one number to call. And a lot of times they'll pay for the rekeying service. You also need to reprogram your garage door because we don't know who has access to it.
Absolutely.
And you can get your carpet cleaned, the windows done, and if anything goes wrong, like I said, you can call one number to get it fixed. So those are some of the additional costs that could come up as you are thinking about purchasing.
Okay. Tanika, we have a bowl in front of us
Okay.
filled with real info and
Okay.
fake info about real estate. So why don't you go ahead and pick a couple of questions from the bowl?
I would love to.
And let us know what you think.
All right. The first one says school districts are irrelevant to those without kids. So you're asking, is that a fact or a myth?
Yeah.
That's a myth.
Mm.
It's a myth. It's a myth because it's very important where you purchase. Location, location, location. And one of the key factors when you are buying is good independent school districts. Those will help your equity in your home increase exponentially faster because it's in a more desirable area. Okay, so when you are thinking about buying and purchasing, that should be a good one of the components you consider. One of the things that I like for my clients to think about is real estate is one way to create wealth for yourself, but good school districts help that to increase even faster. So that is a myth. You should be concerned. It is relevant to the purchase of your home.
Yeah, because think about the fact that even though right now you may not have kids, your family may be in a position where it grows in a few years.
Right.
So it would be good for you to be in an area where the school is amazing, where your kids can just attend that school, either within walking distance or just take the bus, and for you to feel safe.
Right.
And knowing that where my kids are going to school is going to be they will receive a great education. And even if you plan on selling down the road,
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, like you're saying, it's not just you're not just purchasing the house just for yourself,
Right.
but you might need to sell it eventually. So it's an investment. So you have to see it as an asset, right?
Even if you decide not to sell, it's a great rental property for you.
Yes.
And it'll be much more desirable in a good school, independent school district area.
All right, guys. School is important.
Yes.
Yes.
I get another
Yeah,
one?
you get
Okay, let's, getting pre-approved by the bank is done after finding your perfect house. Is that a myth or a fact? Y'all must just have myths in here because that is so untrue.
Okay.
You really should do the opposite, okay? You do need to get your pre-approval in place. That's one way we can get laser focused on finding the right home for you in the right community that fits your budget and your price range. So if you find the perfect house, sellers are not going to accept, oh, I just love your house. An offer has to be accommodated with a pre-approval or a proof of funds, which says I've been vetted and I can purchase this home for this price point. So no, it's very important that you do that on the front end. Get your pre-approval in place and then start looking. Another thing I just want to mention is that it will also tell you what type of financing you're using.
Yeah.
Is it FHA? Is it conventional? Or if you're a veteran family, are you using a VA loan? That pre-approval will help the seller to understand the type of financing you'll be utilizing.
And it also helps you with the budget, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, because you may think, I have buyers that call me all the time, they're looking at a $300,000 house, and I ask them, I said, well, how much do you want to pay in your mortgage? They say $1,100. That's incongruent, okay? That's not going to work. That's not going to match at all. A $300,000, if you put a lot down, absolutely that can work. But typically first-time homeowners or just the typical buyer may not be putting that much down in order to only have an $1,100 mortgage. So it's very important to get that pre-approval.
And I think so, in my opinion, as you start getting familiar with your real estate agent and they talk you through the process, checking with a lender would be a good thing to do. So getting pre-approved ensures that you're not wasting your time.
Yes.
And you're not wasting the seller's time as well, because you want to be focused, like you said, laser focused.
Yes.
Focusing on a neighborhood that you like, on a house that you can afford, and that is going to shape your house search and ensure that you get into your beautiful home faster.
Yes.
True, but another thing I have to mention is in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in particularly, it's a very competitive environment. So if you do not have your pre-approval in place, no seller's going to look at your offer because you're always going to be in a multiple offer situation.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
it's imperative you get it.
Important to get your pre-approval letter, okay, guys?
I'm excited. Let's do another one.
Please, I beg of you. Let me just try one more at least.
Yes.
Okay, let's see what you got. All you need is money for a down payment.
I know the answer to that one.
Another myth.
Yeah.
Well, because there's more components when you're purchasing a home. You have your down payment, you have your closing costs, you have fees like inspections, fees that come along with that. And so it takes as much money as you can save, but you will need a little bit more than your down payment because it takes so much more to purchase.
That was so much insightful, and I wish we could have the fourth question.
I know.
But it's okay, guys. If you have any additional questions to Tanika, just reach out to her. She's available. We'll let you know. We have all the information for you to contact her. And now we're going to jump into our next session that we'll call Questions from the Gram. So Tanika, we have our audience, our followers. They have some questions for you.
All right.
And the first question is, we often hear about location.
Yes.
And we know that they say the location of my house will determine the value. What do you think about it?
I think that's very true. Location. You heard that many times over the years, and it's true because location can determine value. All right. We spoke a little bit about independent school districts. Also, things that factor into that are crime index. You know, do you have a moderate or low crime index, meaning, you know, I can live here safely? A lot of times I give my clients a website called homefacts.com because you can check different things like that, the school rankings, the crime index. Those are very great components to help you understand, is this a great location for me? So it's one of the key factors in understanding value. So yes, it's very important.
Yes, nice.
And so one of our followers asked, what happens if I cannot pay my mortgage this month?
Well, with this COVID-19 environment, it's been very challenging for a lot of families. And so fortunately, there are several programs that your mortgage company may have available to you. So my first recommendation would be don't be afraid to call your mortgage company. Let them know you've been furloughed from your job or you've lost your job or whatever your situation is. And because of programs like that, they may be able to help you. So it's not a dead-end situation. Make the call.
Okay. So here's the thing. Us millennials are very independent.
Yes, you are.
And I can do it all by myself type of people.
Okay.
Can I buy a new house without real estate assistance from an agent?
Can you buy a house without assistance from someone like me?
Yeah.
Yes, you can. But why would you? Here's why. You can do that, but having a seasoned, licensed realtor is to your advantage. First of all, you don't pay us our commission. The seller's agent will pay our commission.
All
Okay?
right.
So why not get assistance when it's free for you? We know the ins and outs of the market. We know the comparable values. You may offer something and it be completely off the mark. Are you paying too much for the house? A seasoned agent can give you an understanding on the values and can help you to understand is this the only home available? This may not be the one for you. We could give you a plethora of other opportunities to see homes in this area or another area, and you can't get in homes without assistance.
Yeah.
So I would say you can, but it probably isn't to your advantage to do so.
Okay. I think it's always good to have someone in your corner
Always.
that will watch out for you and tell you, okay, if this is a good deal, or if there's something that you maybe need to watch out for, or some things that you may be overlooking that are
Let me
not.
ask you something. If you were in a court case, would you have the other person's attorney or would you want your own?
I would
Oh,
want my
definitely.
attorney.
I need you to think about that as it relates to real
Yes.
estate because there are contracts involved. How do you know if you're getting the best deal? So you need a seasoned licensed agent to help you because we've been licensed. We go to school. We hundreds of hours of licensing to be able to understand the contracts and put you in an advantageous situation, versus at a disadvantage. So it would behoove anybody, whether you feel you can do it on your own or not, just to have a partner with you. Another second set of eyes, especially as you are navigating through addendums, contracts, amendments. See, you don't even know what those are, right? That's why you need to call.
Yes.
And you don't pay for it.
No.
Absolutely, yes.
When
It's
you work-
totally 100% working to the buyer's advantage to have a real estate agent. Yes.
Absolutely, it is.
Great. So I'm sure with all your experience, you have probably heard and seen quite a lot.
Just a little
1,000
bit.
stories.
We want to hear a story. Go ahead
Okay.
and share a story where maybe the home buyer was not cooperating and you had to kind of jump in and make them accept something that was working
Right.
for the good.
No compromise.
That happens
yes.
quite a lot because I encounter families that are multi-generational. People are helping maybe their children to purchase a home. So I can tell you about one experience in particular. They were actually cash buyers. And so you think in this economy, cash buyers, we're going to rise to the top. Well, that was the mentality of the parent who had, for 20 years, whenever they bought a property, plopped down the cash offer, it was a done deal. But you're in an area now where cash isn't necessarily king all the time. So the parent wanted to lowball situations, and they weren't getting the home. So my client was very frustrated. And so as a realtor, you often have to be a counselor, a financial analyst, and things like that. So, just kind of being able to speak to the parent about here's what we're looking at now versus 20 years ago. Speaking to the client and helping them to understand they do have wisdom, they have the business acumen, that's why they're successful. It's okay to take their advice, but I'm going to show the comparables, help them to understand the marketplace, and help them to understand that maybe how they did it 20 years ago doesn't apply today. So it's funny when you see stuff like that because you're like, the old school way is not necessarily the millennial way now, right? And so you just have to navigate through those choppy waters sometimes. But the goal is to get the client the home that they dream of.
I love that. I feel like you just want to have a partner
Yes.
working with you. A real estate agent is going to help you navigate those
Yes.
waters. But if you have someone like a Tanika that's here to help you through the process, answering your questions, making you so comfortable with the whole everything, I think you are able to, put yourself out there and get your beautiful home.
You absolutely are.
Well, so that concludes our episode about real estate. We are very, very happy that Tanika joined us with her presence today. And guys, we hope you learned a lot because we sure did.
Thank you for having
you
me.
so much.
It's been a pleasure to be here.
And thank you again, and make sure to subscribe, to share, and thank you again, Tanika, for coming. And stay tuned for next episode. Thank you so much.